Stand by for mode 1, Charlie 17. Mark, mode 1, Charlie.
And the flight dynamics officer says we look good on all sources, right on the trajectory. Crew will experience maximum G-forces of about 4 Gs at shutdown. Coming up on first stage shutdown. I think we saw them all from here.
Roger, Jack. The thrust is going, all 5 up there. Running good. Roger, 17, you're go.
Greetings. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I would like to greet all of you in the greeting words of peace. We say them in the Arabic language of Assalamu alaikum, but in the oppressor's language, the English language, it simply means peace be unto you. And of course, in these times where so much is happening, so many calamities, so much chaos, so much confusion, the best greetings that we can give each other are the greeting words of peace. These are the greeting words that Jesus, the revolutionary Messiah, greeted his disciples with. He greeted them with Assalamu alaikum or Shalom alaikum, and it simply means peace. Today, we're going to be talking about EMFs. Many of you may not know what EMF means, electromagnetic frequencies. You may not be familiar with the dangers of smartphones and smart meters and even the microwave that you have in your home. And many people are beginning to get sick because of all of these frequencies that are in their home. And now there's going to be introduced the 5G. And so today we have with us to discuss this Dr. Rhoda Zione Alale. And before we introduce her, we're going to play this video. So check this out. This video is going to lay the ground for our conversation today. It's about a 3 to 5 minute video. And I think you're going to find it very interesting. So let's get right on into it. And then we're going to get into our conversation. I just want to let you know that if you have any questions that you would like to ask the doctor, please put that in the chat box. And I will ask that to her or put it on the screen to let her know that you all have a question for her. So let's go ahead and check this out.
Scientists estimate that our daily exposure to EMF radiation is 100 million times higher than it was in our grandparents' time. And with this has come a price no one expected to pay. The question you should ask yourself is your home killing you? Over 1 million articles of medical research can be found linking 9 of the top 10 diseases killing Americans to overexposure to EMF. According to Dr. Joseph Mercola, new scientific evidence is continually emerging that nearly all the 20th century human plagues can be tied to some aspect of our use of electricity, including acute lymphoblastic leukemia in children, brain tumors, malignant melanoma, asthma, cardiovascular disease, immune system dysfunction, hormone disturbance, brittle diabetes, sleep disorders, headaches, Alzheimer's disease, and ADHD. And this is just a partial list. Dr. Magda Havis, PhD from Environmental and Resource Studies of Trent University, also says that over 35% of the US population may be affected by overexposure to EMFs. The most vulnerable to microwave radiation and EMFs are women, children, and at-risk adults with existing conditions. Troubling studies are reporting that children living in homes with elevated electromagnetic fields are at risk of developing leukemia. The rise of autism cases is as much alarming. In 1950, the incidence of autism in children in the United States was 4 in every 10,000 children. In 1975, this number was 5 in every 10,000. By 2009, it had shot up to 120 cases of autism per 10,000 children, with numbers rising every year. There has been a dramatic increase of unexplained diseases and disorders since the 1980s in the U.S. The culprit is EMF, or electromagnetic fields. EMF can be measured in levels of radiation and are emitted by all electrical devices and devices that emit radio waves, even when they are turned off. Remember, you are an electrical being. At the cellular level, your cell membrane receptors recognize electromagnetic fields at very low levels of exposure. In 2011, an agency of the World Health Organization classified radio wave electromagnetic fields as possibly carcinogenic. The Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, is reporting that 6 out of 10 homes are sick due to air and radiation pollution that includes greenhouse gas and EMF emitted from an aging electrical system, the increased number of wireless devices and appliances. This creates an e-smog in and around our homes. Let us listen to the personal story of Dr. Rhoda Alale, who has served on advisory panels for the last 5 presidents of the United States.
All right, and we are joined by Dr. Rhoda Alale. Greetings, Doctor.
Greetings, sir. Greetings, sir. Good evening, and thank you for allowing me this opportunity to share on your show.
Thank you. And we want to talk about this topic because we have right now the coronavirus, COVID-19 coronavirus spreading, and a lot of people are concerned about that, and as they should be. But one of the things that many people don't know is that these EMFs have been in our home for quite some time, and we have been warned about the damaging effects of cell phone use, particularly when we hold those cell phones close to our heads, close to our brains. We see our children playing with these devices, but it's not only the cell phones, but it's also the microwave. Now it's the smart TV, it's the smart meter.
Yes.
So before we get into that, please introduce yourself, let the people know about yourself, and let's get right on into this powerful conversation.
Well, yes. Well, thank you again, Mr. Muhammad, for this opportunity. I'm a registered nurse, and I'm currently a scholar in resident at Columbia University in New York City. Columbia happens to be the apex of the EMF conversation and how it's impacting our health. Not just what's happening in our bodies, but what's happening in our environment all around us. Because EMF is highly magnetic. So the more electrical appliances you have, the stronger the field you have. And few people realize that when you have one electrical device within 2 feet of another electrical device, they're magnetic. They will magnetize their electromagnetic frequencies, and they can get as high as a taser gun. So here you are sitting there with your computer, your cell phone, your printer, your fax machine, all sitting here, and you don't realize you're sitting there being tased. And that's translating into cancer, brain tumors, bleeding eyes, swollen maculas in the eye. People are getting macular degeneration in the eye because there's so much hitting the eye. Glaucoma. People that are in front of computers all day long get increased pressure in the eye. And so this brings me down to how EMF impacted my life. As I said, I'm a registered nurse, and I worked in the field of neurology for 45 years. I happened to have adopted a baby that had a brain injury, and they said he would never walk, talk, or learn. Well, he was fortunately, to the grace of God, he was able to overcome so much. But when Wi-Fi came on the scene, and I put Wi-Fi in our home, it seemed to flip him backwards. He lost his complete ability to learn, his ability to balance his emotions, kind of just was up and down, peaks and valleys, and he was always on the edge. And finally, it got so bad, he ended up being in a hospital program. And I thought it was going to be 3 days, and 3 days turned into 8 months. And so our worlds went upside down, and he had been able to overcome so much. He learned how to walk, he learned how to talk, he was able to go to school. I took him to Yale University as a baby and was an understudy of Dr. Edmund Gordon. So I was able to get the Bush Child Development Center to help me guide him. And then Dr. Gordon sent us to Columbia University to work with the memorist, so that he would be able to learn and adapt and grow. And the short of the story is I became a professor of nursing at Howard University. And there I worked at the National Institute of Health, where I began to see that EMF was coming on the forefront. They started an institution there that began to look at the environmental factors in healthcare. And the cell phone was born. And the world, everybody was kind of guarded. Is the cell phone going to create health issues? And they were back and forth, and they were divided on the electromagnetic frequencies that's coming off of the cell phone and coming off of these computers. And now the tablets and the laptops are being born. And so there was an intentional effort to really stay on top of that and look at that. And so when the World Health Organization concluded that the power source of these electronics was coming from non-ionizing radiation. Non-ionizing radiation thickens the blood. It can imbalance the blood and translate as blood clots in the blood and blood clotting disorders. And it can cause thick blood syndrome. And it can cause, your inability to hold on to minerals. It can put the blood in reverse spin. And it started creating all these health problems. So they began to say, listen, we have to focus on doing something about these EMFs. And so for me, I kind of took a turn in the road to focus on environmental health, because no longer, if we see somebody is sensitive to electricity,
right,
we have to have some kind of plan of care to intervene that and to reduce their exposure. And that's how I kind of got into it. I was at a medical conference, and a doctor walked up to me from Russia. She said, "You are swollen everywhere." She said, you look like and have the presentation of somebody with radiation poisoning. She said, "Do you have ants in your house?" I said, "I have a terrible ant problem. They have infested my house, and they've taken over my kitchen and patio." She said, "Don't even play with this. Immediately find yourself an engineer that can come and measure the micro surge of your electric system, the magnetic pulse in your electro system." And I found a nuclear engineer from the local military base, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And he sent a team, a doctor who was an electrophysicist and another gentleman, and they came and they measured my house out with these quantifying meters from the military. And they said, "We don't know how you're alive." And I said, "What are you talking about?" They said, "You're not supposed to be exposed to more than 50 BMUs of radiation in your home. Yours is 1,579. I said, "Could this have caused my son's brain injury?" They said, "Yes, absolutely." And I said, "Well, what about me? I've got this breast cancer starting." They said, "It can cause that." And I said, "Sometimes when I'm teaching," I said, "I get brain freeze in the middle of my lecture and conversation." They said, "It can cause all that." They said, "Your exposure, you're laying in the bed with your head at the headboard, right on a wall that has these electric sockets. And when they surge, they energize your box ring, and you're sitting up there getting a non-fatal electrocution." I'm like, "You got to be kidding me. You're trying to tell me the walls, these electric currents in my walls is tasing me and taking my life?" They said, "That's exactly what we're telling you." They said, "We have got to get some equipment to lower the electrostatic in your home, this microsurge, and bring you down to below 50. And so they began to study my house and try all these capacitors that would not work. They could only get the house down to 300. And so they said, we want to continue to study your house because it's going to take us some time to figure out what's going to bring you down. Meanwhile, you need to know, unplug everything in this house. Step 1, unplug everything that's not essential electrical device in this house because you must reduce your magnetic pulse. And with everything unplugged, go ahead.
Yeah, before you go on, so let's give the people who are watching, give them an understanding of really what you're talking about. So what are EMFs? And if you can explain some of the devices that are in your house that emit these frequencies.
Well, EMF, electromagnetic frequencies, is the power that comes out of your electric system. It's the power that powers every electronic device you have, from your cell phone to the lamps to the alarm clocks, your TVs, you know, all of your appliances, your refrigerator, your furnace, your water heater, even your windows are powered by electromagnetic frequencies. And people are saying, how is that? They don't have a power source. Well, windows are made from electric sand called silica, and it picks up the electro frequency and it throws it in your house by, 6 or 7 feet, sometimes even as much as 12 feet. You can get an electrostatic wave coming off your windows. And so whoever knew that these waves are highly magnetic? For example, right behind me, you can see the television, and you can see it has one of those modem boxes below it. Just by the fact that they are within 12 inches of each other means that they bind their forces together. And so I could be standing there in front of there, I'm getting a low-level tase. It can make me feel dizzy, it can make me feel lightheaded, it can make me feel anxious. And that's why all these children having all this anxiety, we having all of this short-term memory loss, headaches, joint pains, dizziness, nausea, numbness, tingling, hyperactivity, depression. The #1 leading disability in the United States, anxiety, all of this violence that's gone through the roof since they started deploying 5G. 5G is non-ionizing radiation. It's an electrical device, and it's amplifying the electromagnetic pulse in our homes. In fact, I just got off the phone with one of the scientists down in the Durham Research Triangle, and we were talking about the fact that his hypothesis is that non-wireless devices decrease the atmospheric pressure in our house. It's much like scuba diving. They tell you the lower you go, the more mental confusion you can have, the more muscle pains you can have, the more feeling like your body is not connected that you can have. And when you feel that, you are too low, the pressure is too low, and you have to come up higher. And these are the types of things that are happening. So they have 9 houses down there with my technology that they're studying, and 3 schools. And they begin to observe that, #1, schools are safer. They've been able to reduce the electromagnetic surge by as much as 95%. #2, the children have more mental clarity. So everybody's grades has improved. And #3, they have better behavioral management. They're not as anxious. You don't have this bullying and want to fight and destroy somebody that gets kids suspended from school. Matter of fact, one school hasn't had any suspension. And it's just been tremendous, the outcomes. And so the question becomes, is the violence in our neighborhood caused by the cell phone towers, cell phone antennas, the fact that 5G towers are coming up in mostly minority neighborhoods? Even Harvard University has got into the arena. They are saying that because of the high radiation and the environmental pollution, even people in Black and brown neighborhoods have higher transmissions of COVID-19. And if
I just wanted to say that, one of the things that they talked about is Black people and our being on Twitter, our being on social media. We are people who love to be on these social media platforms, and once again, holding these devices that's emitting these frequencies. we're unaware that, like you said, some of the symptoms are even deal with reproductive issues. So we're having, and they just came out and talked about the low sperm rate in American men. You know, they talk, and of course we know that in the Black community, our Black women are suffering from high maternal mortality rates and infant mortality rates, which means that the infant or the child or the baby doesn't live past 1 year. Now, like you said, this could be caused by a number of different factors all coming together and causing us to be sick as a people. And we're talking, of course, about the diet. We're talking about some of these vaccines, these shots that we're giving, particularly the MMR vaccine, which is linked, some believe, to autism. And also, I think I already said diet, but then, of course, these devices that are in our homes. So we definitely want to talk about this because people really need to know and understand how they can protect themselves.
This is so important, and I want to circle and dance around diet because we in our communities, we don't have access to fresh fruits and vegetables and produce the way communities do that are in suburban areas. And you know, they're talking about food deserts. And so the fact that we have our diet now has to become intentional. And I want to dance with some turnip greens and some collard greens right now, because turnip greens are a superfood. They are anti-inflammatory. And collard greens are a superfood. They are anti-inflammatory. And when you mix them together and you put them in your body, especially if you're the type of person that has to be on the computer all day long, you have to be on the cell phone, you have to be on the landline all day long. We are under a nationwide call to action to promote health and healthy homes and healthy offices and healthy workspaces, because we're being so bombarded with all this EMF in buildings that have carpet, that has VOCs, and getting the off-gassings of paint on the walls, and also the EMF transmission from windows. So we're being so bombarded with the environmental toxins that we're under a nationwide call to action to reduce our exposure to all of this. So reducing exposure, minimizing all of the electronics that are in our workspace, and try to simplify that, and then our diet. Eating turnip greens, eating greens for breakfast, eating beans. I heard you say navy beans. Navy beans are excellent. Eating beans and greens together are complete amino acids and proteins to help detox the body and rebuild cells. Those major things we have to amplify because we're losing our strength at a younger age. Young people are talking about, I got chronic fatigue. I'm too tired to do my homework. I'm too tired to clean my room. We're talking about 12-year-olds, 11-year-olds, children that should be full of vitality. And I'm not just talking about it in our community. I'm talking about in the Amish community. They're having these same health complaints. In the rich communities, in these big millionaire mansions, their children are losing the energy. Look at Columbine. Did you see in their bedroom all those electronics that they have? So this has no, it's no respect of person. We are seeing this, but in our communities, our numbers are off the chart. And when we have weakened immunity, it puts us at risk for everything, for mental illness, for premature death. And speaking of SIDS, we have the highest infant mortality in Dayton, Ohio, of any city in the United States. We have a military base there. We have all this magnetic pulse, the airports that are there. We have all these industries that off-gas chemicals. And so we have to be intentional about reducing our exposure. And if we had to do one thing, that one thing would be keep the non-essential electronics unplugged.
And we definitely want to talk about, we definitely want to get into that, some solutions. Of course, being in the nation, a follower of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I got to plug the books, book 1 and book 2 on how to eat to live. Of course, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teach that, that navy beam, has the ingredients, if you will, that will help us guard against this radiated society that we now live in. But I also wanted to say that you bring up a good point about Ohio, specifically Dayton, because now they're even talking about and sending out letters to people about these forever chemicals that are in the water. And these forever chemicals are carcinogens and cause cancer. And so you're absolutely right. We have to be intentional about our health. And this is why it's a good thing that we have come together in this city to form a co-op and to produce the Gem City market that is owned and controlled by the people. But let's talk a little bit, if you want to, let's talk a little bit. And a lot of people in their homes, right? And in their day-to-day activity, we are doing things that are putting ourselves at risk. Can you talk about the bed and how our beds are close to these outlets? And if we have springs in these beds, how that amplifies that electromagnetic frequency and is making us sick while we sleep? And can you also talk to Black women and Black men, but specifically Black women, about putting that cell phone in their bra next to their breast? And if they have that underwire, how that is also amplifying that signal and making them susceptible to breast cancer.
Absolutely. And everybody, if you remember your bed has box springs. Remember when we were children, you may have jumped on your bed and it was like a trampoline. Well, that box spring is highly receptive to electromagnetic frequencies. And it can be, if you have your bed pushed to the wall and you have electric sockets in that wall, or you're within 4 feet of a window, the conduction of electrostatic in that window can intercept your box springs and intercept the electrical dynamics around your bed, the alarm clock, the lamp, the sound machine. It can intercept your flat screen TV, which it has 5 times the amount of radiation as your old TV. It can intercept all these things and turn your bedroom into a giant taser gun. Have you ever woke up in the morning and you feel more exhausted than you did when you went to bed? It's because you're being bombarded all night long with EMF. And a gentleman Mr. Steve has put up this slide for you to be able to see all of the different symptoms that can happen to you. So you have to really focus on protecting yourself. The headaches, the dizziness, the bleeding. We have women after they have their babies, they can't stop bleeding after 6 weeks in all of these bombarded environments. And so what can we do? We can unplug all unnecessary electronics in the bedroom. Women, stop putting your cell phones in your bras today. Stop putting the cell phones in your bras today, because if you have underwires in the bra, they can pick up the frequency of that cell phone and transmit it, conduct it into your tissue, not just your breast, but also your heart. Too many of you are getting atrial fibrillation of the heart. The beat of the heart at the top part of the heart cannot talk to the beat that's in the bottom part of the heart. There's a disconnection of the heartbeat, and your heart is rapid all the time. It's just running rapid. And so we got to stop this. Men too, your left chest pocket of your suit and of your shirt, stop putting your cell phone there. The Cleveland Clinic is hollering about this. They're telling everybody, you have a natural pacemaker in your heart called the SA node. And when you put your cell phone in that pocket, you're taking out the natural pacemaker. And that's why everybody needs a pacemaker now. Our pastors, you got to know how much microsurge is piping your mics, is powering up your mics. You need to ordain and appoint someone immediately to get these quantifying meters and monitor the microsurge while you're speaking from that mic. because your mic has the potential to pick up with and bind to the frequencies of all these cell phones and tablets that are in your pews from your parishioners that are coming, and you're sitting up there trying to preach the gospel and get people saved, and you drop dead. There's massive numbers of pastors dropping dead right now all over the United States and the world, really. And I was on a television show in Pittsburgh where they highlighted massive numbers of pastors preaching and dropping dead. And stop taking these mics in the baptistry pool. Because if you get a digital send or surge while you're baptizing somebody with a microphone, I don't care what kind of grounding device they say. Right now with 5G and the potentiation of all the electromagnetic dynamics around us, you can't take that kind of risk. You cannot take that type of risk.
Right.
And
let me ask you about the children, because our children, they have these devices as young as 2. We're giving it to our children, of course, to either pacify them or to maybe help them to learn some type of language skills. But can you talk about what type of effect these devices are having on our children? And can you please talk to our parents and our children about not sleeping with that cell phone right next to their head?
Absolutely. I want to backstroke a little bit, and I want to skip around the book that you had earlier, because I don't want to leave my thought on that. You put up the book you had on from Prophet Elijah Muhammad. My mother used to read this book when we were children, and the wisdom of this book is so profound and relevant today for 2 reasons. Number one, Prophet Muhammad talked about eating wholesome foods to detox the body. He was far ahead of his time. He focused on detox the body. He focused on fasting, that you need to consider fasting every other day. Long before intermittent fasting was a fad, he was on intermittent fasting as a way to preserve your health at the apex of health. And so that book is so relevant today for keeping our bodies detoxed, because when you have exposure to a lot of environmental toxins, it makes free radicals in the body, free radical poisons. And these poisons will bind and rob us of oxygen inside. That's why everybody is so tired. Everybody's so fatigued. Everybody is advanced aging. And how it relates to our children is doing the same thing for them. We just did a house in Washington, D.C. I am an environmental physicist, and I'm one of the first registered nurses that are a design engineer for Healthy Smart Homes. We work with electrical engineers with bringing solar technology in your house that applies to the window and relays to your electric, water, and gas systems in your house and destatics the house and mitigates air. It's the Healthy Smart Home campaign that's demonstrating for the Department of Health and Human Services and the United Nations. The short of the story is, the reason why we focus in on doing this is for children are getting so sick. Number one, they're dying from SIDS. Number two, because they're on cell phones and tablets all day long, we have seen a surge in leukemia and lymphoma cancers, especially children sitting with these tablets on top of their stomach, and it's impacting their organs, massive numbers of diabetes. And what we know is the children on the cell phones, they are now losing their hearing, a condition called acoustic neuroma. And the surgeons, the American Academy of Surgeons, is talking about parents, get these earplugs so your children are not holding that phone on their face. Have you seen your children's face lately? These black shadows that's getting on their cheeks. Well, that's a radiation burn from them holding the phone to their face. You're supposed to hold that phone an inch away from your head. You're not supposed to be having that phone up on your face like this. And as a result, children are losing their hearing. They may never hear their own children cry. And how are you going to live with that? You done gave the child a phone since they were 2 years old, 3 years old. And then when they get to be 12 and 13, not only have they lost their hearing, all of a sudden they start having seizures. Or they start getting this defiance, rage, You telling them, sweetheart, get your room clean. I clean it when I want to clean it. I mean, this can alter the brain theta wave, their center of emotion, and make them aggressive and demonic and defiant. And so we got all this defiance going on. And if they get in trouble with the law, it's translated as resistance. And so they're getting Trump charges behind this. And so, and it's fueling this pipeline of school to prison.
Now you gotta back up a little bit for us on that. That's pretty heavy. Talk about that theta wave. I mean, because many of us don't know what you're talking about and how that is linked to. You're saying that that's linked to violence.
Absolutely.
Can you break that down for us? Help us to understand.
Absolutely.
That.
We now know there's so much research that documents one of the main health hazards of cell phones is that it impacts brain waves. You have a theta wave. On the left side of your brain, you have a theta wave, and that theta wave helps you control your emotions. That's what you get happy with. That's what you get sad with. That's what you love with. That's what you manage your emotions with, your theta wave. On the right side, you have an alpha wave. That's what you learn with. That's what you grow with. That's what you gain knowledge with. That's what you retain with. That's what you process with. That's what you reason with. And the two work together. We know that when you're on this cell phone and you're in areas of high Wi-Fi transmission, all of a sudden you get theta and alpha wave alteration. And have you ever had the feeling you're driving down the street, you know where you are, but you feel lost from yourself? That's because you come into a zone that has high electromagnetic frequencies and it's altered your theta and alpha wave balance. Well, in our children, it's affecting their theta and alpha wave, and it's threatening their ability to even discern and occupy and possess righteousness. It affects their ability to govern morality.
That's heavy. And I want if you can you talk about this research, because there's always what you would call, how do I have it written down? I have it written down as independent research.
Yes.
And then there is then there's that research that is done by the industry that is backed by the corporations. And so they always come out with a different narrative than the independent research. And now we're seeing today, because if you have independent research, because they control the media and social media outlets, you are literally eliminated from those platforms, so that you can't even give an alternative to their corporate lies. And we know that they're lies, because the number one thing that the corporations are push for is that bottom dollar. They don't give, excuse my French, a damn about the health effects of the people. What they care about is that corporate dollar. And so now they're talking, if you can help us to understand, they're talking about, what is it called? It's called the non-ionizing and ionizing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you help us to understand the ionized and what is non-ionized, and how the ionized is just as harmful as the ionized.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the research first, okay? I want everybody to write down this name. His name is George Carlos. George Carlos. Who is George Carlos? George Carlos is one of the foremost researchers with cell phone technology. He was paid thousands and thousands of dollars to do the research in a way to say cell phones were safe. But when he began to see the health outcomes that was happening with the cell phone industry, and all the brain tumors and all of the mental disparity that was happening, he had to come clean, because you know what? At the end of the day, we all will stand before our Creator for how we have taken his grace and his mercy and his intellect and his innovation to serve the earth. And if it doesn't equal good, we will stand accountable. And I tell people, religion did not teach me about God, nursing did. When you are in that intensive care unit and you are taking care of people dying, and you see people that didn't do good in their life and didn't live in peace in their life, I'm telling you, their death is like torture. They're being taunted. They're screaming out as they're taking their last breath. And you know, you feel the presence of demonic forces coming to get these people. And it is eerie enough to make their hair stand up on your head. That's what brought me to conviction that there's a God that we have to bow our knee to, and we will have to give accountability to. And George Carlos talks about the condemnation he came under, being part of an industry that was pulling the wool over people's eyes for a technology that was potentially an assault weapon. So let's talk about the verses of ionized radiation, because I'm a board certified registered nurse and an environmental health physicist. Ionized radiation is like a gas that poisons the body. When you breathe it in, it metabolizes in the body and it turns into polonium-210, a poison that poisons the lungs in particular. But now we understand it can poison the whole body because it transmits through the blood. And that's why they had to stop people smoking in the public place. Because if you go to the Environmental Protection Agency website, they were telling people, they had articles posted on radioactive smoke. Because tobacco was being raised in fields where there were uranium stones. If you think back to World War II, atomic warhead was manufactured in America, right in Cincinnati, in the place that we know as Fernald. Well, when the war was over, they had massive numbers of uranium. All these uranium rocks, they didn't know what in the world they're going to do with it. They got vaulted. Now, I'm not telling you something somebody told me. I'm telling you something that was in the New York Times, recorded in the New York Times as a major article. And I want you to know that the author of that article was astronaut John Glenn, who was the state representative for the state of Ohio. So if anybody knew about what was buried in Ohio, he knew, and he committed himself to serve Ohio as the state representative. And he's alleged that he was not going to his grave knowing that Ohio had all of this uranium and radioactive material in the earth, that the vaults were being compromised and this stuff was coming out, and it was poisoning the land. So he wrote an article, Mini Hiroshima near Cincinnati. Don't take my word for it, Google it. New York Times article, Mini Hiroshima near Cincinnati, and you can see it for yourself. And so so in this process, uranium, when it off-gasses, it makes radon. So radon is a source of ionized radiation that's coming up in our houses. That's why you need to get your house tested for radon today. Don't even wait till tomorrow. Wait today. If you have Wi-Fi in your house, get tested today, because Wi-Fi can amplify the assault of radon in your house. Number two, ionized radiation is through X-rays. That's why they put that lead tape over you when you go to have an X-ray at the dentist or X-ray at the hospital, because they have to block that stuff from poisoning and assaulting your organs and killing it. And that's why when people give you chemotherapy and you get radiation, so a lot of times you can get cancer secondary to that because it's so highly assaultive to the body. And I tell people, if you get chemotherapy, go get your liver enzymes done at least every 3 months. Because chemo is so highly assaultive to the liver, which has the responsibility to filter it from your body, that chemotherapy can transmit into liver cancer. So ionized radiation, if you breathe it in because you're smoking tobacco in your cigarettes that has uranium or radon in it, it's going to make polonium-210 and lead-210, and that's poisoned the body, and that's why they had to stop people from smoking in public places because the smoke was radioactive. Now, you can get ionized radiation, believe it or not, from having ceramic tiles, from certain ceramic vases in your house for decoration. You can get ionized radiation in your house from those granite counters. That's why a lot of people are having that granite taken out of their mansion. The $1 million houses, I know people are having all that granite stripped out of the bathrooms and out of the kitchen because it looks beautiful, but it's off-gassing ionized radiation in your fabulous house. So non-ionized radiation comes from everything electrical. Everything electrical. It's nuclear, and it comes and it makes your blood thick. It imbalances formed elements of the blood. It can make inflammation. You're on the computer and you got all the wires underneath your desk. Next thing you look up, your legs are swollen. I had a gentleman in Washington, D.C. at my print shop. I went in, young man, 27 years old. His legs look like elephantitis. I said, man, what's wrong with you? He said, they don't know. I've been in now the hospital, blah, 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 blah. I said, let me see your workstation. At his workstation, his back was against the wall. They had 3 electric sockets running behind it. He had all these wires from the computers and sound this and fax machine and this and this and that coming down underneath his desk. He had a computer in front of him. So he had made a sandwich. The computer was hitting him from the front. The wall was hitting him from the back. And his lymphatic system, you know, your white blood cells are here, but lymph nodes are all throughout the body. He had swelling of the lymph nodes, and he was on a fast drain to lymphatic edema, the lymphedema and cancer of the lymph system. So I said, let's rearrange your office and let's put some technology in here and bring you down. We turned him around so that his desk was up against the wall and his back was free, about 15 feet from any electrical devices. And he stopped going to the hospital. All the swelling went out of his body. And I told him, when you go home, you're sleeping in a no electronic in your bedroom room. Take all the electronics out of your room. And God was able to stabilize his body and heal him. And so we are seeing from environmental adaptation, from the use of some basic technologies, we can make the home safer. Because we're under a nationwide call to action out of the Department of Health and Human Services, out of the Department of Housing and Urban Development, out of the EPA, that our houses are too toxic. The OSHA, the OSHA administration has revised the new regulation. If you have any employee working with anything that plugs in, anything electrical, you must give them protective gear. The Microsoft Corporation is now putting keyboard health warning labels, telling people that a keyboard can cause serious injury and disorder. So the movement is happening, but of course, in our community, we're the last to get the information because we're so busy with crisis management. We're so busy, you know, dealing with things, talking about each other and being at civil wars with each other. Love, we have to find the type of love Harriet Tubman had and reunite and sojourn for one another. And that's why I appreciate you, Brother Muhammad, because you're taking your time, your talent, your resources, and you're like making a beck and call, and you're amplifying my voice in community because I've given my whole life to this. The last 12 years of my life, I've been inundated with this because my son's life depends upon me understanding EMF in the environment. It took me 7 years to get his brain stabilized, working with different doctors and different physiologists to figure out what would stabilize him so he could relearn. He didn't even graduate high school until he was 24 years old. But the good news is his brain is on. He's retaining information. He's moving on in life. And I'm giving this gift to other people. God has blessed me to have 2 double gold medals in engineering and 4 awards from the United Nations for this technology I've developed. It's a solar technology. It turns windows into solar panes that are
before you go in, we're going to get into that salute. We got one more problem, if you will,
Okay.
and then let's get right into the solution. So, dirty electricity. People may not have even heard of that. Can you talk about dirty electricity? And some of these devices are standby devices, meaning that you can put them to sleep, but they never actually turn off. So they are always constantly emitting these frequencies. So can you talk about dirty electricity? And then let's go ahead and get right on into some solutions.
Yes, well, dirty electricity in a nutshell is classified as all of the electrostatic that's bouncing off of electrical appliances in your house. One of the greatest sources of dirty electricity in your house is your breaker box. You'd be amazed. I tell people that when you go to buy a house or you go to rent an apartment, first question you need to ask after you find out how much it costs is, where is the breaker box? If the breaker box is in the bedroom, keep looking. Because all of the people that have shut down, take your life sicknesses, when I go to their house to evaluate, the breaker box is always in over their head or somewhere in their bedroom. Now, these are young people. They have a modem put in their bedroom and they wake up and can't even walk. Because electric radiation is non-ionizing radiation. It's highly disruptive to blood, formed elements in the blood, takes down your ability to transport oxygen and transport toxic waste out of the cell. And so inflammation is rapid and fierce.
Right.
And causes swelling. And you wake up and may not even be able to walk. You're so inflamed.
Wow. Now, doctor, I mean, I'm sorry, but you said so. I mean, we have to soak this in, what you're talking about, because first of all, you're telling us that, you know, this is making our body our acidic our bodies are already acidic. So now you're saying that we're not getting enough oxygen. So these same EMF symptoms they mimic the symptoms that people have when they have this coronavirus. So this is some heavy information. And so what I would like to ask you is that what is the problem? I already know, but I'm just asking, but what is the problem with these organizations that are supposed to protect us, like the EPA and like other governmental organizations like that? I know the answer, but I just want to hear your professional viewpoint.
Well, I want to sidebar because I think the former Vice President Al Gore says it best. He said, you better save yourself.
Wow. You
better save yourself. We are in a time where information is being so distorted. The medical community is divided. The scientific community is divided. That you almost have to look at the core of people and see the heart of a person that's giving you the information. Because people who want to stand up and tell you the truth, they're being assaulted and assassinated and being brought asunder.
That's right.
When I took the gold medal for the United States, people were so jealous because it was a 44-nation competition that they wanted to say, my technology is so innovative. It's so 22nd century technology. It's self-powered, so I can use it out in the jungles, or I can use it in the Amish country. I can use it in places that are remote or places that are urban. And so they put out a hit on me that I was a voodoo priestess and blah, 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 blah,
I've seen those articles.
Trying to destroy, because I took the gold medal for the United States and people were upset that a registered nurse took a gold medal in a quantum physics space. But I had 78 people, scientists from around the world, tested my technology and said it was valid. And they joined beside me and behind me, and that's how I got to Canada. The Canadians aligned with me and they said, listen, if they want to fight you in the United States, we have a house up here for you. We have office buildings up here for you. We have manufacturing. Come to Canada. We will stand with you. And that's how I got to Canada. That's how I got as being the global ambassador for the NEVVUS Corporation, because they said, we see you and we align with you and we're part of you and we're going to make this happen. And then I start hearing 4 different countries have aligned with me to take this technology. I have a 1,000-acre city being built in Nigeria, and it's all being built biosmart solar. And so I'm so grateful. So we have an opportunity now to change. But Al Gore said, you better save yourself.
Yeah.
You know, you better shake yourself and say, how do I feel? And start through the process of elimination, seeing what works for you. I am in this space, not for my health, not for my resource, because if I don't find a way to sustain my son, he will not have a life. And as a result of the sacrifices he has made, and as a result of the sacrifices I have made, we now have children that have 1,000 seizures a day, that are having their houses mitigated, and it is taking down their events of seizures by like 90 to 100%. I got a young woman living in Dayton that had seizures since she was born. We did her apartment and the seizures went away. They said she was educably retarded. And it clarified her mind in such a way that the girl was able to go to the Bureau of Vocation Rehabilitation and find the skill that she could do. And now she's working. They said she would never have a baby. She has a beautiful baby girl. She's got a job that she has maintained for 4 or 5 years, and she's off of Social Security disability. I mean, people are getting their lives. And so we have an opportunity to change our environment. So I'm happy that the Department of Health and Human Services has said our houses are too toxic. We got to find a way to do it. I'm grateful that God has given me a gift. I have a gift from God to make this technology that puts a mitigation system in everything in your house. People don't realize how vulnerable water is. Do you know if you have electrostatic in water, you can pass out while you're showering? We have people passing out in Beaver Creek, passing out in Dayton while they're trying to take a shower. The water is so hard and so full of electromagnetic static that it hurts. It's painful to even bathe in it. And so we have a system that takes that down, takes down the electrostatic in the water, softens the water, so it makes it enjoyable to bathe in. And you can reduce your laundry detergent by 50% because the water is so soft and it's been processed with solar energy.
Let's go ahead and get into that, some of those solutions. Let me go ahead, and I have 2 videos here, smart home deal, or I can, if you want, I can do the 3 steps to a safe home. Which one would you like me to play? And then we'll go into some solutions.
You can do 3 steps to a safe home.
Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at this.
So you're an educated consumer, you've measured your house, you found your electromagnetic levels are high. What are you going to do? One of the simplest, easy solutions is the power guard. The power guard is a capacitor that does 3 things. It's a surge protector. It cleans your lines and helps to filter the EMF radiation, so you're reducing your levels. And then it stores that electricity so that when your appliance is needed, it has the extra energy on the line to support the operation of your electric system and maintaining the balance in your appliances. And so through that, it's able to lower the incident of stray voltage in the house and high magnetic flux in the walls. You would be amazed that just within seconds, this capacitor does not work in days. It works within seconds. You simply plug it in the wall, turn the button on, and the little blue light comes on to let you know it's working. You have your meter, and you just watch the levels fall. For me, my lower level was 1,332 biometric units of radiation. That's massive because safe levels are below 25. I plugged my power guard in, turned it on, it brought it down to 23. On my upper levels, the levels were 1,503 biometric units of radiation. I plugged my power guard in, turned it on, it brought those levels down to 9. And so it is amazing how fast this instrument works. It is UL certified, so it has the best. It's classified with Underwriters Laboratory, and it's already got the credentials and the certification to be used in our electrical systems in the United States, and it's just a no-brainer. This was so amazing. I couldn't believe how just by lowering the electromagnetic radiation levels in my home, our health began to improve, and it was just tremendous, the results that we got. I also was excited when I got my electric bill because I saved about 15% on my electric bill, so it actually pays for itself. This has made adapting your home and making it safe, green and safe, doable.
All right. And so, Doctor, we want to go into some solutions. First of all, is it possible for us to, is there any type of device where we can find out how much EMFs are in our home?
Absolutely. If you go to Amazon, there's a meter called a Stetzer meter. And you might want to type that in the chat for people who are wanting clarification. Stetzer is Stetzer, Stetzer, Stetzer. Stetzer meters were made by a nuclear engineer from the Army. His name is David Stetzer. Mm-hmm. And he saw that people were getting diabetes after having open heart surgery in some of these military hospitals. And so he developed this device to evaluate the operating rooms before surgery to make sure that the surge was not happening to tase the pancreas. And the pancreas is the organ that makes your insulin. And if you don't have enough insulin in the body, because the pancreas is swollen, inflamed, it's not functioning properly, it's going to flip you into diabetes. Mm-hmm. And so this meter has changed the way operating rooms are managed today, as well as emergency rooms, because people are now intentional, especially in the military hospitals, in monitoring electromagnetic surge. So these meters are now available to the public, and everyone needs one. Everyone needs a meter. And I suggest that you, at the churches, can buy these and start a ministry, a health ministry. That's what the United Nations is asking. It's asking for the church community to mobilize environmental health physicists and educate the people in your congregations about electromagnetic surge and reduce your exposure, because it is causing massive health disparities.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Hopefully I put the right link in there for Mr. Stetzer and that device. Also, you have a device yourself that can measure some of the electromagnetic frequencies in your home. Is that correct?
That's correct. We not only have a device, we have a complete service. We have a team. The name of my company is MedHealth Electric. MedHealth, M-E-D, the word health, electric.com, medhealthelectric.com. We are a group of medical doctors and registered nurses and environmental physicists and electric engineers and electricians. And we're a group of usually 3 persons or 4 persons, depending upon the dynamics of your home. We come into your house and we measure your house, and we measure you in the house, because we want to see how your house is impacting your health. We measure you in your kitchen in particular, because people's kitchens, they have all these appliances together, the refrigerator right next to the stove and right next to the microwave. And it has made a taser gun surging people. One woman's house, we found out that she had severe fibromyalgia, and every time she would go in the kitchen, she would get so weak, she would collapse or have to be carried out or have to find some way to crawl out. And we found out her kitchen, the way her appliances were tasing her while she was in the kitchen. We test people's bedroom. We test you in the bed. We want to know how the energy of your bed and the dynamics around it, the appliances, the lamps, the cell phones, the alarm clocks are impacting you while you are laying down. We don't just think and try to project that your bed is assaulting you. No, we measure the numbers in your bed and we measure you in the bed to see what that dynamic is. We measure your water. We test you with the water. We measure the dynamics of the water. We measure the Wi-Fi, how it's impacting you in the house. Is it making you weak? Is it offloading your minerals? Because the main danger of having a house that's high in non-ionizing radiation from electrical appliances is it demineralizes the body. And so you find yourself having to take massive minerals, having to, eat everything organic, and you still feel tired and weak. So we have a whole service that comes and completely evaluates your home and you in the home, and doctors write prescriptions for it. Our service is complete tax write-off. Then we have a system to mitigate your whole house. We can mitigate your whole house and take down the electrostatic in your house by as high as 95%. We take it down in your house, in your windows, we take it down in your electric, we take it down in your gas and your water, and it creates an energy wave that's continuously in your house 24/7 to take down electrostatic in your dust and any particulate matter that might be in the air, so it makes it drop. So your air is cleaner and odors dissipate quickly. This is called the healthy smart home. So we're converting your house into a smart house that not only saves you money, people save an average of 50% on the electric bill, 20 to 40% on the gas bill, but it cleans your house so your house promotes health. And we have so many children and people with seizures that now have been able to balance and reduce their incidence of seizures by 98 to 95%. And so we're excited about that. People with Alzheimer's disease. We actually have a lady in Trotwood that we did the house for her daughter-in-law, and she was in an end-stage situation, and instead of transitioning in 2 weeks, she kept living, and 3 months later, she woke up and knew everybody and was able to regain her function back and her faculties back. We have so many children that can't talk, that are able to talk now. We have people with Parkinson's disease that had tremors for 11 years that are now able to stabilize their nerve muscle function. The technology was never designed to treat, diagnose, prevent, or cure disease. But we found out that the body is fearfully and wonderfully made. If you lower the assault of your environment, your body can heal itself.
And that's what we're
wonderfully made.
That's right. And that's what we're basically talking about across the board. We're talking about diet. We're talking about, making sure, looking at your home and looking at these electromagnetic frequencies, because while some of us might have microwaves and we're cooking our food in the microwaves, while we're cooking our food in the microwave, we're being cooked in our home.
Exactly.
EMF frequencies. So as we close this out, let's go in and I would love to let's do a tag team, right? I would love to do a closeout with you giving a solution to how we can protect ourselves against EMFs, and then I'll give one, and then you'll give one, and we'll do a few of those, and then we'll give you the last word.
Okay, well, I appreciate that, Brother Muhammad. I want to start with inviting your listening audience to go to my website. I know you have a couple posted. I have a website called Your Nanos. Nanos. That's YOURNANOS. And I appreciate your listening audience being attentive here for an hour today. These nanos are like, I don't know if you can see this little postage stamp, but they're $59. Now, what do? You put them inside your phone case. I don't know if you can see the nano. This little nano won me 2 gold medals. It's a flat, ultra thin device. I'll take it out of the bag. Although, when you get one, keep it in the bag because it makes it last two months longer. Now, you put this nano in your cell phone, it turns your cell phone into a guardian. It continuously mitigates electrostatic. And so you put it in your phone, it mitigates electrostatic on your phone to enhance the safety of your phone. That's what it was designed for. You can put it in your tablet, you can put it in your laptop. I'm having difficulty getting this little bag open. Oh, there we go. And so this has a solar link in it. This is a super nano. There's normally retail for $59, but for those of you, if you go on the website now, you can get them for $20. $20. They last a year. Actually, they last about 15 months. And so you put it in your phone case, and when you lay your phone down near your laptop or your tablet or your computer, this will relay for 12 feet. So it mitigates electrostatic for 12 feet. This is like a super nano. When you're in a home, so when you put this in you can see it's ultra thin. It was designed that way, so it can be diverse for people who have brain injuries and get all kind of electrical treatments with electrical devices, and they need to mitigate the electrostatic. They can take their phone and lay it within 3 inches of their laptop, and it will mitigate. It will broadcast from the phone to your laptop and mitigate for 12 feet. So to mitigate the computer, the fax machine, a landline, a lamp, anything you have at your workstation. The second thing that this thing does, and it will blow your mind, all you got to do is take your cell phone, set your cup of water on it, whatever you're drinking, on top of the cell phone for like 30 seconds, and it will biobalance the water. It will increase the alkalinity of the water. It will make the water so it enhances digestion. And it will discharge any electrostatic from the water. If you go to YouTube and look at any YouTube videos on water, you will see that if you have your water cup sitting near your computer, you are changing the molecular structure of water. You're causing inflammation in the water, so the water molecules get so big or get so deformed that they do not enhance. They don't have the full capacity to enhance your cellular life. So you're altering by keeping your water bottle sitting next to your computer. You're altering that. Well, this nano will rebalance that water so it has the vitality and force you need to hydrate your body. And I have a lot of people that drink the frequencies with a 30-second charge to their water bottle. Some people, actually, you really only need a 3 to 5 minute charge. You got yours?
Yeah, I got it on the back here, but it's reflecting. You can't really see it. But
I can see it.
You can kind of see it. Yeah, it's in there. Yeah, definitely in there.
The other thing is that this becomes a guardian when you get in the car. And that's what mothers that have children with seizures love. Because when you get in the car and you plug your cell phone in, this nano biobalances your whole car and 10 feet around the car. And certain cars, the Toyotas, the Hondas, the Nissans, the Chevys, I don't have any data on Ford yet, but these, yes, I do, a Ford Flex. It increases the gas mileage anywhere from 3 to 6 miles a gallon. And I don't know if you have to have it plugged in. I have a Nissan Armada, which is a gas drinker, and she gets 13 to 15 miles a gallon without this nano plugged in. But with this nano plugged in, she gets 22 to 26 miles a gallon, depending upon whether I'm piping around the city or I'm piping around down the highway. But I can drive a week on one tank of gas because of this nano. And it biobalances the car, so it keeps you relaxed while you're driving. You don't have that intense, when I have to drive long distance, and people don't get neurotic and psychotic and screaming and hollering and short-tempered and all of that. It keeps us balanced and keeps us on cool because we want to occupy peace.
Yeah, I have to say that I drive, of course I drive, and I don't know, I may just be a cool, calm, and collected type of individual, not too much upsets me, because I understand the dynamics of what's going on, right? But you know what, though? Honestly, people are driving more and more crazy today. I mean, they're
Yes, they
running
are.
red lights. And Dayton, Ohio is 15 minutes away from everything. So what are you speeding towards? I mean, I can't even understand it. But anyway, I wanted to give a solution as well. Of course, I have this Wi-Fi in my ear to do this program. However, this simple little device right here that will keep that signal, because even this, even though it's small, it's emitting those frequencies, and it's just as dangerous as holding the phone to your head. So here we have these earplugs we can plug in, and also when you put that phone in your pocket, one of the things you may want to do, if possible, is put that phone in airplane mode, so it won't be, putting those signals out. Are there, do you have something that also that you would like to throw in there as far as what a person can do now?
Absolutely. I want to give a plug out for the Power Guard. The Power Guard was the first experience. Now in Canada, they like the levels below 25. So, you heard me speak 50, 25. 50 is a range that's that's for the United States, because of the difference in how we do microsurge down here. So their goal up there is 25. Our goal here is 50, although most houses that we do here are balanced between a number between 7 and 18. We had a farm that was 1900, and their levels are now down to 13 to 18. So when we do solar in America, we're able to get those numbers down low. Now, the Power Guard, it was my first experience with lowering electrostatic, and it's a quick intervention, but it's a Band-Aid. It's not the full solution, because it can't do windows, it can't do water, it cannot do gas, and it's limited in how it can interface with dirty electricity. You got dirty electricity coming off of panels. That's the main source of dirty electricity in a house that's broadcasting everywhere. We take that whole system down so that there's no broadcasting of electrostatic. It's very minimal coming off that panel, because that, if it's surging, it can surge the whole house and everything plugged into that system. And so the Power Guard, you have to go to NEVVUS.com, NEVVUS.com. It's in Canada. And you can order the Power Guard there. Because now, where's the Power Guard going to go? You need to have that Power Guard in your bedroom at the foot of your bed. So it's in that bedroom circuit pulling down the microsurge of that. Now, I will have to forewarn people that if you have a lot of dirty electricity in your line, and your line is congested because you have a lot of appliances throwing high levels of microsurge or EMF in the line, the Power Guard will not work for you. And so if your lines are over 2,000 and they're super congested, the Power Guard is not going to work. It works on 98% of all the buildings we plug it in. And that's the reason why I had to keep looking for solutions, and that's why I went into the solar space, because it's very inexpensive for us to come out and check your house. It's tax deduction. We can just mitigate a bedroom. We can just mitigate an office. We've mitigated Rick Poole's, both of his stores, because he saw the benefit of how not only did it bring him in compliance with the new OSHA regulation, but it supported the health of his staff and the vitality of the produce and products that's in there. So he's demonstrating for the United Nations as the new way that retail spaces can sustain resilience and vitality in our food. Because EMF is not just taking down our ability and our vitality, it's taking down the vitality of the food we're eating. And you can test, this is measurable. All you got to do is go in the grocery store and pick up an apple and see if you can either hold your fingers together with Bedore testing or hold for muscle response testing. If you put holding the apple and you can't resist, your arm is coming down, it's because that apple has lost the vitality of its life force from being continually assaulted by non-ionizing radiation delivered on a wireless platform. Everything is being radiated in the grocery store. Everything is being scanned. And so we got to ask the question, how is that impacting our food? And that's why there's so much morbid obesity. I mean, myself, I moved to this highly radioactive area and blew up 100 pounds. And I'm working to get all that off and keeping all that off. And it changed the biochemistry of my body. So I have to work with a dietary physicist now to figure out how am I going to adjust my body to get this radiation, the damage that it's done by living here and eating the radioactive food here, etc. And so it's a work in progress, but I'm down 40 pounds. I thank God for that. I got another 60 to press through, and I bless God for his faithfulness. And so you are such a young man, Brother Muhammad, to have this vision, but you're a man of wisdom. You have foresight and insight, and that's a double blessing and a double gift from God. And I pray that this movement becomes your passion, because here's the ticket. If we don't fight EMF radiation, we will not be able to maintain our mental health. Our children will not be able to occupy peace, because people are at each other's throats now. Husband and wives we're losing our capacity for love. We're losing our capacity for peace. We're losing our capacity for tenderness. We're losing our capacity to nurturing. There's so much screaming and cussing and damning in our community, and that we're turning off epigenome switches that allow us to dwell in the human race and nurture and sustain our lives. And we're becoming savage beasts that's destroying one another. It's scandalous. One of my dear friends' son was just standing on the corner saying goodbye to a friend, and somebody came along and sprayed bullets.
Right.
You know, so, the murder is just incredible.
Right. And we're at the end. We're at the end, but we definitely want to, I guess if you have like any last parting words, then we'll go ahead and close this on out. But we would definitely love to have you back on here, because I think, you know, we could talk a little bit more about EMFs and, you know, some of the things that we can do to protect ourselves, because once again, you know, this 5G is being rolled out, and there's a lot of misinformation that's coming out about the 5G as far as its harmful effects. And we know that, you know, many of these governmental organizations are in the hip pocket of these corporations. So any last parting words before we go?
Yes, sir. I just want to tell everyone out there that knowledge is power. And so be motivated to protect your own family by doing this research. The Bioinitiative report has 2,000 pages archived for you to examine this subject matter A to Z. You can go to my website, Environmental Health, EnviroHealthGlobal.com. MedHealth Electric will take you there also. You can even go to YourNanos.com. You can see the children and that are talking now. They couldn't talk because of EMF. You can see the man with Parkinson's disease that couldn't write, couldn't feed himself, and he couldn't talk because EMF had shut down his life. And I bless you to be encouraged to fight for your family and for yourself. Save yourself so that we can live, move, and have our being in peace and love. Love will be the inheritance we give to our children.
Absolutely.
This is my hope for you.
Thank you, sister. I really appreciate that. And so we're going to go ahead and close out with, of course, we have to close out with a powerful message by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who is always on the front line of any type of social movement for justice. And that is why this society, which is a corporatism. It's not a democracy. It's run by an oligarchy or a plutocracy. And so we want to hear from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and we'll close this right on out.
Elijah Muhammad came and taught us how to eat to live. Master Farad told Elijah Muhammad how to teach us. And your Quran tells you that when the Messiah comes, he will teach you what foods to eat and what foods to store in your houses. The Prophet Muhammad did not teach you that. He gave you foods that were given in the Torah as well for the Jews. But to teach you how to weather the storm of radiation. You got your cell phone? You like your cell phone? Radiation. You put it on your hip. We buried a brother last year, one of the Muslims who had cancer. He said, I used to carry my cell phone right on my belt, and he ended up with cancer of the organs in this area. Johnny Cochran died, cancer of the brain, always taking calls. You're all so busy when you didn't have no damn phone except in your house. You had to wait till you went home. But today you're busy, and every 5 minutes you on a phone. More radiation. You can't cook your food no more. You drop it in the microwave, radiation. You sit in front of the television, radiation. You got your iPod, your iPad, your computer, radiation. Go to the airport, come through this machine, radiation. You get a cough, you go get a chest x-ray, radiation. You say, I need a MRI, radiation. I need a CAT scan, radiation. So you're eating radiated foods. But you're eating all kind of times a day. Elijah Muhammad said 1 meal a day. A good meal to give your blood time to build up strength to cast the toxins out of your body. He said, get that bean, that navy bean, that natural bean. The pulse in it will ward off the effects of radiation.